And we are live. Sunday Night with Those Guys, and Sunday Night with Those Guys is sponsored by
Those guys. I miss my key. I miss all the buttons and everything. Usually we have it better than that, but I just missed everything. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Sunday Nights with Those Guys. We have guest here tonight with us, co-hosting with us, Ron Brown. You guys know him as Ron T. Brown on Facebook. What's up, Ron? What's up, Herman?
Hello, Lawrence. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Oh, not a problem. Not a problem at all. I appreciate you coming on. I didn't realize you were a true football fan like Herman. You know, because Herman watches football and does the live stream, and we wanted you to come on last week, and he's like, it's football time, you know. So that's neither here nor there, but I'm glad you can come on. What's up with you, Herman, man? How you doing?
Well, I'm still in the middle of the stuff here that's going on, and it's a little nerve-wracking, but I'm good. I've been getting out to fly a little bit here and there, and I've been doing my thing, little afternoon flights and stuff. So,
Okay, all right. You're a little low for some reason.
Who, me?
Yes.
Well, no, that's just because I moved away from the microphone a little bit.
Oh, okay, cool. That's actually better. Anyway, welcome to Sunday Nights with those guys. Ron, welcome for the first time here. I've been wanting to have you on for a while. I just have my hands in too many pots right now.
Understood.
You know, with the new year coming in, Herman and I are trying to do things with those guys, and then you have personal life, then you have the drone life, and then you have my personal quiet time, and there's not enough hours in a day.
Oh, there's plenty of time. You just got to fit it in there. It's
Well,
up there, Gary.
What's that?
No, I was shouting Gary in the chat, but no,
You
guys got to make it work.
SKN Jones? I've never seen you here, but welcome to the live stream. Gary, how are you? Feet on the ground. Good morning in Australia. But if you didn't know, for some reason,
What's up, man?
Ron? We're a morning show in Australia, where Feet on the Ground is. I know him personally. Tim Jackson is from Australia, so we're a morning show there. And in the United Kingdom, we're actually a late night show. It's like 10, 11 o'clock over there.
Okay.
So I was trying to focus on demographics when I picked this time, believe it or not. If you have a YouTube channel, it's usually good to go after demographics, and then the numbers start coming in. The same thing with posting videos. But what's good with you? What's going on with you, Ron? What's happening on your side of the world?
Yeah, I know you guys got a lot of snow here.
Well, I was going to say a week ago, we had like 16 inches Saturday night into Sunday morning. So at this time last week, I probably hadn't got my car completely dug out yet. So this Sunday's, it's cold, but it's a lot nicer than last Sunday. Did you guys get the big snow last Sunday also?
We got about 11 inches recorded, they said.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't. Yeah. It was bad, but not too bad. Not, enough enough for a shovel, but
yeah, we're not used to. Usually, they kind of misses the Jersey Shore. You guys are close to the ocean too, but I'm like just like a block away from the ocean. Usually, we mostly get rain out of these snow systems, but this year we've kind of made up for the last couple of years of not getting much of anything.
I'm about 3 blocks from the ocean, actually, the Atlantic Ocean here. And it's funny you say that, because the 11 inches is usually around what we get on a light winter. And because I live next to the ocean, like this, a lot of times the snow stays further inland.
Yep.
But but we got a decent amount. What's up, everybody in the chat? Drone Views Media, Idaho Quadcopters, Roger, how are you? Tim Jackson, good morning to you over in Australia as well.
Lawrence, because
SJM, I
of the
said hello to who
geographical
else is here?
location
Huh?
of New York, because of the geographical location of New York, we usually see more snow north and west of the city.
Yes.
That's why Rhode Island and those places get hit with more snow, because they catch that drift coming straight from off of upstate Thought, and it comes right through. It's the top of the state. When it comes in through Canada, it's the top of the state and comes right around. It's through that Long Island Sound. That's why it dumps more in the outer port of Long Island.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you guys are north of enough of me in southern Jersey that your temperature is a few degrees lower than mine. So lots of times when I'm above the freeze line, you guys are at the freezing line.
Right.
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
pull out
yeah.
snow.
And being totally so New York, the 5 metropolitan area being totally surrounded by water
Yeah.
is another thing. Everything is surrounded by water up here. So depending on which way the wind wants to blow, it could be bad or it could be nothing. Like they expected us to get freezing rain. And I was glad because all the rain did was wash away all the snow.
Same here. I regretted shoveling like later in the week because I think I shoveled like a lot on Wednesday still, and by Friday it was all gone. Like I did that Wednesday shoveling for nothing.
All right. Well, if
Roger's here. Oh, Roger.
yeah, yeah,
Tim,
Roger, if you
that.
guys are coming in, if you didn't know the format, Ron, we usually BS around and hang out for until about 15 after before we get into a story and stuff. And I'd
Right.
like to compliment you on your video you shot in the snow because I thought about doing the same thing and was easily deterred by the cold.
Mhm.
It was too windy when it snowed here.
Yeah, well, that just happened to me the last time. It's still early in January. We had a big snow too, but it was so windy for the couple days afterwards. I mean, I didn't want to fly, but this time, luckily, Monday, about this is maybe 20, 30 hours after the snow ended on Sunday. It was still cold, but the wind, I mean, gusts up high, it's still wind gusts, but the wind was at a pretty okay level. And especially the Mavic 3 is my best drone I've ever owned in high winds. And Ken Herron's leaf blower test bared that out when he could barely move the Mavic 3 with that 70-mile-per-hour gust from his his blower.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah.
It was funny how the Mini just spun around.
It was funny how the new expensive Altel late drone didn't do so well either.
I mean,
Oh, those,
I mean,
are you talking about any of them now?
I mean, they all pushed back to their,
Location, yeah.
to their GPS lock.
Yeah.
But how easily some of them were pushed off of it. I don't know. It was funny.
I mean, it may not have been scientific, but it was entertaining.
Yeah. I mean, the way the leaf blower blows, gust of wind, I mean, sustained winds is one thing, but if you have sustaining wind like that, you shouldn't be up there anyway.
Yeah.
Not with a consumer drone,
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, the good news with the Mavic 3 was I took off, and I'm going to say it was maybe around freezing, about 32 degrees. It's rated down to 24. And with the wind chill, I probably did push it down to about 24. And, of course, I did everything right. I had it in a heated car until I was ready to take off. So the battery wasn't cold. The drone wasn't cold. But of course, it does get cold with the 5 minutes it takes to acquire the GPS lock, but otherwise it performed perfectly in that cold temperature. I didn't see any decrease in battery. I didn't see any irregularities whatsoever. I mean, I didn't have a real long flight, but I mean, I landed with a whole bunch of battery still left.
So
I hear a lot of Mavic 3
how could it be
pilots saying
cold? How could it be cold with 5 minutes to get GPS lock?
But I hear Ron and Herman, I hear a lot of Mavic 3 pilots saying that. They're landing with a lot of juice in their batteries.
Well,
And
the first time you go up with it, it's like, okay, you're used to flying, you know that, this was the running joke that I'm able to shoot a whole video with one battery, and it's because you've trained yourself to get those shots in within that time period of 25 minutes. Now you have a battery that's almost twice that amount of time. You're like, okay, what am I going to shoot next in this area?
you know what? That's 100% true, because before I had anything DJI, before I had my first Phantom 4 Standard, I had a 3DR Solo. Now, the battery life on those are 15 minutes. Now, with weather and whatever, it drops down to about 12 or 13 minutes. So I learned to shoot entire videos in that time. And then when I switched to DJI, I went straight to a half hour. And I was flying and I'm doing this and I'm thinking I'm staying out longer. And it was only about 15 to 17 minutes I had used up on the DJI battery. So I get what you guys are saying, coming from 25 minutes and going to almost 40, almost double that. It must be, well, you'll have your batteries for a while, right?
I can't see Mavic 3 going into a return to home because the battery is dying.
Yeah. This is good.
I mean, if it did, that
Any
means
projects you
you might
working on,
be
Ryan?
paying attention.
Of course, when the Mavic 3 does get down to 10% or below, it really wants to come home. It really fights you to come back home, even if you're close by.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah. You could be within a couple 100 feet, and it really wants to land when it gets to below 10%.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying.
Go ahead, Herman.
The amount of time that's on the battery, the amount of flight time you get on that battery, I kind of pay attention to it a little bit. I mean, I've learned to take my glasses with me so I can see that little thing on the top and the numbers.
And those numbers they did put a better font or something on them with this last update. You can see those readouts a little bit clearer now.
A little bit.
Yes, they did. They did actually change the font. The font before looked like spaghetti string. They either hit bold or something on it, and because in the app update for the Air 2S, that particular controller, I don't know which controller you guys. I know Herman uses a smart controller. What controller do you use, Ron?
I bought the standard kit, but I purchased the RC Pro separately, so I have both controllers.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I did notice on the Air 2S, the standard controller, that they changed the font a little bit, and that definitely does help.
Well, that's in the app. They did do that.
Mike, I was trying to see what they were talking about in the chat, but I figured we might as well go into the first story, but I have to play my disclaimer. Only say, I'm Herman, relax. I'm not going to yell or curse anyone out, but I have to play my disclaimer, Ron, because these will be our own personal views and opinions, and what I have to say about this first story coming up, the CCP. We don't want to get political in the chat, guys. All right, we're trying to stay biased here, if that's the correct word, but also give our opinion. So let me just play this disclaimer, then I'll say what I have to say, and then we can go into that story. Okay. The views and opinions tonight are not necessarily the views and opinions of everybody on the panel and or in the chat. Now that I've gotten that out the way, this first story has to do with, and this is my personal opinion. You guys feel free to jump in if you feel I'm wrong, I'm right, whatever. It's greatly appreciated. But a lot of the guys with the Mavic 3, and up until I read this story, a lot of people were complaining about the Mavic 3 being on Chinese satellites. And I've come to the conclusion after reading this story, this story, I believe, is the reason why our Mavic 3s are running on Chinese satellites, and it will take longer. And this may also have something to do with the possible future sales of DJI drones here in the United States. All right. And with that, going into the story, it's titled, U.S. Senators Take Another Shot at DJI, the Countering CCP Drones Act. Ron, you had mentioned you were a little familiar with the story. If you can give your take on it, because we do have to mention a few senators' names. We don't have to mention everybody. But one of the main guys I would be wise to bring up, and maybe some of the guys that are listening to the live stream will remember hearing this guy's name along with drones.
Yeah.
What is your take on the story after reading it? Because it goes on to say, Ron and Herman and everyone in the chat, that U.S. Senator Marco Rubio, okay, from Florida, had wanted DJI banned here in the United States due to the fact that he believes U.S. data and important logistics and information was being given away to China, sent back to China via satellite, however it may be, encrypted file. And he tried to pass something called the Countering CCP Drones Act. And he wants the FCC to not let DJI and other perhaps drone companies use our telecommunications equipment, meaning they don't want DJI on US satellites. US govs are for a reason to ban DJI. Well, the US government's looking for a reason. What did you think about the story when you read it, both of you guys, and we can elaborate on that a little more while I type in the chat some.
Well, as far as DJI is concerned, and what you were talking about the satellite situation with GLONASS and why they're using the satellite system that they're using, I kind of expressed that to you before when I said to you that when they were placed on the entities list, making them almost impossible for American companies to do any business with them, which is probably why that was the reason why you're going to see that going forward now, probably with some of their drones or with their drones going forward. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I don't know. Now, this article comes out and I'm seeing this and it's like, once again, here we go with talk that actually, to everyone in the chat and to everyone that owns a DJI drone, the number one complaint with the DJI drones is the geofencing. So now you're saying to me that, let me see if I got this straight. China is relying on American people to buy a product, right?
Right.
And to take this product and fly it in other countries on vacation, right? And then come back to America and cannot fly it in the places that America has geofenced it out of. And they're saying that that is sensitive to national security, but the cell phones that we have that are made in China, that we allow us to take them any and everywhere, even into those sensitive areas that we're talking about. But I mean, it's just kind of foolish that a company or a country would think that, let's take a drone that's geofenced out of sensitive areas and hope and pray that they can actually get there and get photographs so we can steal the information.
Yeah, yeah.
But yet they can use Chinese satellites to help us navigate 'em around with the drone in the same country. I don't get that.
What's your take on it, Ron?
Well, first of all, I want to agree with everything Herman just said. That's kind of almost my what I say when I get asked this question. So I'm going to kind of add a little bit to that rather than repeat the things Herman said, which were all great points. This article, it's an updated article because the senators that you mentioned have tried to sponsor a bill on it. But it's basically, this article has been rewritten several times over the past year or two. And the one thing that stays the same in the article every time, it's always referenced like, it's possible these drones could spy and report back to China. They might report back to China. They could report back to China, but there's never any mention in this article of any incident of it actually reporting back to China, and even what technology would use to report back to China on. I mean, they mention Huawei in these articles all the time, and Huawei, they actually took Huawei routers apart, and they did find chips in those Huawei routers that weren't supposed to be in there. So there was physical evidence found in the Huawei incident. But as far as I know, again, this article, you could read it all the way through. It's maybe, possibly, could. There's never anything where they cite a source like, the FBI discovered, chips, or the FBI found signals being sent, or sensitive data compromised. It's always, just, again, it's in broad strokes. If you read the story, there's no meat in the story. It's just like a kind of a broad story. Drones are bad. Chinese drones are bad. They're spying on us, and they're going on the mentality of many Americans. Again, we talk drones all the time, so we're very knowledgeable on the subject. But the large percentage of the population know nothing about drones except what they see on the TV news once in a while. And these senators are playing to those people that have very little knowledge of drones, except that some media outlets portray drones as bad.
Right.
And they're feeding on that thing. And again, I don't want to mention any names, of any companies. This is just all rumor, all my opinion. But you do read that lobbyists down in Washington for American drone companies are they want this pushed through. Money's being passed in Washington to get these laws pushed through to benefit companies in the U.S. Rumors, speculation. That's all my opinion.
No, I think you're right on that, because it has always seemed to me a situation of either they were trying to play that move of, because basically it's all because of they're uptight about their own shortcomings.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any companies that are doing this at this level,
right,
and at this price point. You understand? And it's a situation that if you don't get down, you got to lay down. So I'm going to crush him in the name of my own shortcomings because I don't have. You see what I'm saying to you? If I had companies that can compete with them, I wouldn't have to do this. I wouldn't have to make this play, because this is a play on people's ignorance. Yes, and it'll work because all you're going to do is rile up the troops and your cheerleaders, and that's all they're doing.
Well, I want to read just one paragraph from this article that I think is very important, and it kind of made me laugh to myself after I read it. But it says, the move is the latest in the long string of proposed legislation and bans designed to lessen DJI's impact on the U.S. industry, which we all discuss and know. Most recently, representatives petitioned the United States Commerce Secretary to add DJI to the Department of Commerce entity list, making it more difficult, and this is what I chuckled about, making it more difficult for US-based companies to provide the company with parts or services. So now what they're trying to say is we're also supplying them with parts and services. I get me if that doesn't sound a little too forked tongue twisted.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. If you see what I'm saying, they're saying we don't want you guys selling your drones here in the United States, but we also don't want our parts going into your drones.
Right.
Well, last I recall, I don't think there were a whole lot of American parts in those DJI drones.
Well, the thing is, you would be surprised. The thing is, a lot of the companies that See, just because you see manufacturing names in these companies manufacture a lot of stuff over in China. We
Right.
talked about this before, like with AMD and Intel. Most of these companies are based out of California.
True.
Where do they manufacture?
Right. Overseas in China. Yeah.
And to what Lars is saying, I'm not so sure it's American parts going into DJI drones, but it may be American intellectual property patents.
Well, it did say parts and services, so I guess you can include that in in services.
Because you keep it well-rounded when you say parts and services.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and another point you kind of touched on a little bit, like if the three of us formed our own drone company, those guys at Dronenation drone company, we design a drone here, they would be perfectly okay for us probably to have that drone built in China. As long as we were the American company, we could probably have it built over and use all their parts. As long as our company is not, physically in China, whatever.
Yep.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, they probably would. But you see, also when you start looking at some of the drones, the overpriced stuff that they have on that blue UAS list, you're not even talking about drones that the average consumer can even put his hands on. As if you didn't like the price of the Mavic 3, you definitely like the price of some of those. And
of course, I don't think we touched on this at the initial ban, and even in this article that Lawrence sent me to read, they dance around consumer drones. They basically just mention drones for government use, FBI, anything really, the government. They don't specifically say anywhere in this article that they're banning the sale of consumer drones or whatever. They dance around it in the article, but they only refer to government agencies that they want them 100% banned.
They want to stop using this. Now, if you remember when this story first came out about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, almost, when the senators started talking about this law to ban DJI drones. It's been about 1.5 years, almost 2 years. The only department that cooperated and got rid of all the DJI equipment was the U.S. Department of Interior.
Right.
And what this Senator Rubio is saying is we want all of our agencies, government agencies. He didn't say all, well, he didn't say everything, but he wants most of the government agencies to put DJI on that blue UAS list. If you remember, they created about 1.5 years, 2 years ago.
I don't think they were going to put them on that list.
Well, DJI came back and proved to the Department of Interior after they stopped using their drones, because I'm sure that was a pretty big contract, here in the United States. And they said, look, you guys can do all the testing. We will supply the drones. We will supply the logistics and see if our drones are transmitting back to China. Now, supposedly, tests were done and they found out that DJI was not transmitting back. But like Ron mentioned earlier, Huawei, if that's the proper way, that company had chips on their boards that weren't supposed to be there. Now we know through DJI alone and other companies, everything can be turned on and off like a switch with firmware.
Now, there are several apps on your phone, and there are apps, and I can mention one to you, the flashlight that you download in the Google Play Store, that is transmitting your information. I removed that from my phone. Why? Because I was notified by Norton that they will transmit your information. That's why all of these apps ask for permission to your files, your files and your photos and stuff like that.
And that's why a recent update for iOS add that feature. You have to opt in on every app now, it asks you, do you want the app to track you?
Right.
And you have to opt in on all of them now.
Yeah, exactly.
Where before, you didn't know if you were in or not.
And you want to know what?
Can I ask like a
Go ahead,
hypothetical question here, guys? Okay, say you have your DJI drone and you're flying it, and you put your phone or device into airplane mode, and you're not connected to the internet at all, right?
Right.
And you fly at just whatever our location we're allowed to fly in, and then you bring you bring the drone home, you take the memory card out, put in your computer. I mean, if you never connect that drone or the device you use to fly to the drone to the internet, would that prevent any possibility of sending data back, or could the data go directly from the drone to the Chinese satellite back to the communist government?
Good question.
Well,
Good question, because we know these drones they're supposed to, after 2021, December 2021, they were supposed to give out or broadcast something giving out all telemetry. Well, we know DJI drones have been doing this already. Okay, but as far as the answer to your question on whether it does, we don't know this because there are a lot of devices that don't record anything, or like Apple devices are notorious for not showing data, but then uploading data as soon as you plug it up or hook it up to the internet.
well,
If you understand what I'm saying.
to
So
answer that question, um,
who knows, right?
right, that is true, but that goes back to what you were saying before, Ron. And this is a God's honest truth. It could and could and maybe, those are words that are not decisive.
Yeah.
No one, if no one knows for sure, then you can't keep saying.
And you certainly don't make government policy on coulds. Something could.
Yeah, they will try. that oh, come on. Don't they? Like, everything is based upon coulds and case studies of. It's just sad that it's just so many people had to go through the windshield for them to do the seatbelt thing to enforce it.
True.
There's a lot of coulds and maybes, until the case study is finished.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that the bottom line is that you got to wake up and stop being foolish about it. If it's just it's either or, either you're upset about your own shortcomings and you're trying to use this as a play to stifle one guy to catch, so you can catch up. If that's what you're trying to do, or if you're trying to kill the market, that's another thing.
Well, hold on a second, Herman. Gary says something here that's kind of interesting, but I see where he's going with this.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, an advertisement came up. Drones barely transmit a few kilometers. How would they get a signal up to the satellite? Well, I'm going to let you know. If it can get a GPS coordinates from a satellite, data can be sent as well.
Right.
And look at your cell phone. Your cell phone communicates with a satellite.
The same way with internet connections, they have software and these programs that we've talked about this several times. Guys can be out there now flying and transmit their data back to their home base while they're out there flying. If they can go there, it can go somewhere else too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, anything is possible. It goes from okay, you can send your drone out over a mile. The transmission comes back to your controller, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It can go somewhere else.
It's the same.
It could. Anything is the word. It's the unambiguous words. Could. Maybe.
Right.
Should.
Yeah.
I just wish that, if these senators or government agencies, if they did actually have real hard proof, I wish they would stop saying maybe if and just show, okay, here's something that did happen. Here's an incident where a Chinese drone did, send some data back to communist, servers or something. I wish we'd actually see a real incident.
Gary, I understand what you're saying. GPS signal is received, not transmitted. But how does your radio receive the signal? It's the same concept. Over a mile, 2 miles. Did Mavic 3 can do what? 7 miles, 9 miles?
You move that stick, it's moving, right? It
Yes,
moves.
yes, it's the same thing. And it doesn't need a direct line of sight. For example, where we live here in New York, they've been putting up these 5G network poles. If not every other block, every 2 blocks, but you can count them by hundreds. And nowadays, your drone doesn't really need a direct communication link with your radio if there's a network around.
No, I
Right,
understand what everybody is saying.
The new Anafi
Mm-hmm.
enterprise drone has the 5G capability.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is what I'm talking
I
about.
understand what these guys are saying, and everybody is right on the subject.
No typing while driving, Tammy.
It's just that there's always something, some way, somehow, something can be done. You know, especially when you start talking about things that are in the free air.
Mhm.
This is true. This is true because we can only imagine how far something can transmit. And I'll give you the perfect example of size does not matter how far something can transmit. We've seen all these robotic pictures of dragonflies and flies on the wall for espionage and stuff like that. How tiny is that receiver on that thing that it's transmitting video and or audio half a mile away or a quarter mile away, 6 blocks away? You understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You have a wireless camera now that could basically fit under this Band-Aid that I have here, and I can stick it in a corner behind Ron in his vent, and it will record and transmit up to half a mile.
Right, right.
So as far as getting back to the story, and then we can kind of like go on a little bit, but getting back to the story of them saying DJI drones are transmitting, everything out there is giving some kind of signal, beep, or sound to let you know what it's doing, where it's at all the time. If you think about it, your refrigerator, if you got a new LG refrigerator and you plugged it into the internet, well, that refrigerator can now call a serviceman, and then a serviceman will call you. It's that simple. Everything is transmitting something somewhere. If you think about it.
Your Ring doorbell, your smart lock, your
Yes.
your I hate to say that, your Alexa device or whatever, all that stuff's connected.
Alexa is allowed to listen to you for up to 24 hours, and then supposedly it's
Okay.
supposed to erase the conversation.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
But what if a Chinese server grabs it in the meantime?
But I see what Gary was going at as far as things being able to transmit, but we have, as far as we know, we're just limited. The government's already using shit that we can't even conceive
Right,
as far as transmitting.
right.
As far as
Right.
transmitting, okay? You watch plenty of TV. I have an extremely tiny camera I put on my shoe for when I go into the woman's Mike Roach. Stop it. I can't finish reading that.
He graduated from the mirror on the shoelaces
Yeah, from the mirror on the shoe to the tiny camera.
to the camera.
Okay, that's a good one, Mike. But I thought this story was kind of interesting because it's come back up again. And like you said, Ron, and I'm going to repeat what you said, but no one's come up out of these senators, and doesn't matter what party, hey, Mendez, but no one's come up with any physical proof that any data is being sent anywhere.
I
But
would love,
people still,
I would love to see
Go ahead.
somebody interview these senators, somebody with drone knowledge, and interview them to find out probably how little knowledge they have of drones.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're probably right.
So-
And
so-
I mean,
Go ahead, Herman.
you're probably 100% right on that, because I mean, I'd like to see how many of them even have like 15 minutes of flight time under their belt, or even can even name the name of this drone that they're saying is doing this. But
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, like,
just find it
I
to
mean,
be funny.
20 or 30 years ago, there was a senator in charge of the internet, and they did catch the senator. Somebody asked the senator some questions, and he had no idea how the internet worked, and he was in charge of it. And he couldn't.
Case in point proven.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Anyway, we shall see where it goes. I'm going to tell you right now,
Mhm.
I don't think it'll, and I'm being honest, this is my personal opinion once again, but
Mhm.
I honestly don't believe that DJI could get banned for a very long time. First of all, DJI is influenced in law enforcement, emergency services, so much here in the United States that if they were to do that, what company could fill in that hole?
Well, see, that's the thing. Once you eliminate them, then whatever is there is going to fill that void. Whether because okay, we spoke on this before with the blue UAS list, and these guys were talking about how those drones are more expensive but less effective than the ones that they were using. But this is what we have to use.
Yeah.
So, what other choice do you have to eliminate your drone program altogether?
Yeah. Well, the article Lawrence sent, when he mentions the Department of the Interior had to stop using DJI drones, if you read the article all the way through, they said the Department of Interior didn't replace the DJI drones. They just quit using drones, period, because there really was no good replacement.
Exactly. Exactly. So now,
And even with them, we're making special case usage if, with it's all foolish.
but yet,
You just can't buy
these same
anyone.
senators, and politicians that want to push this drone law against DJI say the United States needs to catch up to par. They need to we need to catch up to par. They say with technology wise, we're halfway there. As far as our people of the United States, knowledge wise, half of the people in the United States still don't even know drones exist. And you see them in commercials, you see news channels using them, and they don't even know that's a drone. All they know is that it's a damn camera and it's a beautiful shot.
Yeah, I mean, you can watch almost any current TV movie or a TV or movie now. And I tell my wife, I said, "Oh, look, that's a drone shot. That's a drone shot." Some shows rely a ton on drone shots. And if you go back, and watch an old movie from the 70s or 80s, you see the same type of shot done by some plane or helicopter. It's a terrible wobbly shot. It's terrible compared to what we have now with the drones.
And you know what, too? Some of the drone shots are a little bit more personal than the helicopter shots, because now with some of the shots in like congested area, you can actually see that the camera is a lot closer to the buildings than they could get with the helicopter, because you'll see that I've seen shots where they're moving in between the buildings, and I know there's no helicopter moving in between the buildings.
Right, right. Especially at that speed.
And
So
nothing
now,
blowing around on the ground like that.
but just imagine how the United States could be crippled if provided we were told or they passed some stupid law where we had to stop using DJI drones. And I'm just talking law enforcement and emergency services. I'm not talking about search and rescue, LiDAR, 3D mapping, all the stuff that is being done by this company, this drone company. Now, other drone companies can do it. There are other drone companies out there, but as far as the quality and adaptability, it can't be matched.
I think in that article, I think the senators want to ban Altel drones also because they're an all-Chinese company also. So your second best option, DJI, is also on the list.
Yeah.
Exactly my point. So who's going to fill those shoes if the United States government agencies
Well, you have the
through
list.
the American Security Drone Act?
You see the companies that are on the blue UAS list.
Yeah.
Now, when you talk about Autel and DJI, right? Those are two Chinese companies. Now, you're going to ban the two best companies right now at what they do, just because you're trying to. I mean, listen. If you have a company that wants to do this and they're capable of doing it, let them do it. The problem, everything that happens here now with this and competition and being able to produce a drone at this level, I don't, are they looking? I don't even think they care about consumer drones.
You see what Tim
They're
Jackson put?
looking for drones that are on that enterprise level. DJI proved that the enterprise drones that they had with the special app that they were using for them, the software that was just for enterprise use alone for them, or the government use, there was no issues with it. But still, that wasn't enough. So that's not the issue anymore. The issue has to be the fact that you're trying to stop it so that somebody else can catch up.
Yeah, yeah. Tim Jackson says a lot of it has to do with personal education. Tim Jackson left a comment that went by, but I paused it. It says they need to do a commercial telling people of drone laws. Also, because not a lot of people know, hence the Karens. I agree with you on that end, Tim Jackson, but in the same sense, it has to go beyond that. American people need to be educated in so many ways, and it's not just drones. How do you expect them to understand drones? And half of them aren't taking calculus in school anymore. You know, the stuff that we took on this panel in school almost doesn't exist. It's still there, but they're teaching it a different way. If you understand what I'm saying, Ron, and
Lawrence, did you see what's the SJM's comment?
where?
About just check DJI.
Just check, DJI are using GLONASS and Bellevue satellites on the Mavic 3. If you could give us a source, that would be nice for us to confirm, because I don't want to pass that out there unless I had some kind of confirmation. You know, understandable. SJMs, if there's a way you could get us a link, or me or Ron, so we can kind of concur with that, that would be good to know. But I also said this, and everyone was saying that Mavic 3 is on Chinese drones and I mean Chinese satellites, and they won't be able to fix it. How? And I fly FPV, Ron, and I found this out. Okay, my phone I'm using, this GPS chip does not know nothing about GLONASS, Beidou, Chinese satellites, Russian satellites, or anything unless the software tells it that it's there. Now, when everyone was complaining that the Mavic 3, we're using Chinese satellites, it takes so long, I also did think and mention, I think maybe on Hermit's show Wednesday night or week before that, that all it would take is software to fix this issue. And if SJM Drones Media, what he says, just check that DJI drones are taking GLONASS, problem is solved. Let's see what else someone else has to bitch about, because they bitched that DJI put out the Mavic 3, without all its software and smart features. The smart features came out, they were complaining about horizon tilt, they fixed that with software. Well, if this is true also, let's see what else they got to complain about, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, a lot of us talked this over. The hate on the Mavic 3 basically started with the praise. People didn't like the praise, so there was a lot of negativity.
That was the first complaint
out on the drone. Now, some of the issues are real. Again, the satellite issue is a real thing, and a lot of other things have been real things. But that price point is what got a lot of people on the wrong side of the Mavic 3.
Right. Well, was it the price, or was it a combination of things?
Mavic 3 bit better. It's a bit better, less than 2 minutes.
Because honestly, and let's be honest with ourselves, is there anyone really expected this drone to come out at a $1,500 price point? You really didn't expect to pay $1,000 more for it?
Yeah. Yeah, for
No,
real.
seriously, as long as we were talking about it and
And
all the
asking for
features that
larger
we wanted,
sensors and
you really
reading
didn't think you
frequency.
were going to pay $1,000 more, even after the tariff, the hold up on the tariffs
Yeah.
was taken off and everything else, and the fact that every other drone manufacturer's prices went up. Nobody really didn't think that.
A
Am I
lot,
the only one that
a
thought
lot, a
that?
lot of problem was a lot of people, like there's a lot of stories going around early last summer that the price is going to be $1,599 or $1,600 on the Mavic 3. That was just somebody, I guess, just purely guessing at that price. But that article went around for a long time, and I think people saw that price and got attached to it. But you make perfect sense, Herman. I mean, how could 3 years go by since the last time they put a real Mavic out and the price doesn't go up?
I mean, the
Yeah.
price of old drones that they had went up. I watched the price of the Phantom 4 Pro go up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Purely
crazy.
guessing at that price. But that article,
I don't know. I don't know. I think that yeah, I guess it was probably a combination of things. The fact that the drone did come out with the not having certain things available when it was released. I think it was a combination of those things that got people a little bit upset. And then after it did come out, and guys that did purchased it, they did have issues with the Horizon tilt, and then they did have issues with certain things. This was the one issue that I saw with it, with doing video and during the evening hours, that when it got dark, I was getting these little artifacts, and that was corrected in the update that came out.
All through firmware.
Well, a few things were corrected. A lot of things were corrected, and a lot of features came out for this thing that a lot of guys are having a little bit of fun with. So I don't know. I think I said it's a combination of things. I think the price might have just have been. I think that was the one thing that made it easy for guys to complain about, was the price.
It was
Because for what
shell
I'm
shock.
not getting and for what you are doing for that kind of money, yeah, that's when I think why that always became the major issue, was the price. But that was just a combination of things that only led back to saying, the price. For that price, I can't do.
Now, here's a question for you, Ron. You only fly camera drones, right?
yes, I mean, I played around with, like primitive FPV drones a few years ago, but I'm not really comfortable with the goggles
Mhm.
Okay, well,
because I have bad eyesight and
well, is it because you wear goggles or goggles? You wear glasses, or because I noticed a few people that do wear glasses
Mhm.
aren't too big on FPV goggles, but as of the last couple of years, they've been making goggles that either fit your glasses or you can buy prescripted diopters to put inside. And the reason I'm asking is because we have a video here. I apologize, it will kind of hiccup here and there because of, internet bottlenecking or whatever. But if looking at this video, well, first I got to share it.
Well, Lawrence, I want to say
Looking at
one
this
thing
video,
about
I was wondering maybe flying like this would get you into FPV, because it's kind of what got me into long distance cruising as well. But this video here is shot in Iceland, okay, and this is shot on a 7-inch FPV drone. Let me kill the sound. And this is what got me into long range cruising. Being able to fly not only the distance, because it actually only looks like he's only doing about a mile or so, but I'm quite sure because it is
What if
mountain,
you
it's a lot more than that. Um,
lower the
this
resolution?
see, this isn't too nauseous for you, Ron, is it?
no. Mm-mm.
And even though I think he slowed it down to make it a little more cinematic, the
Mhm.
particular drone that he's using is similar to like a 7-inch drone that I have, but they just call this mountain surfing.
Right.
And if I ever got the opportunity to fly a drone anywhere in the world and they would take me there, it would probably be in the Alps or in Iceland, someplace like this.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Because coming from New York City, we can't surf the skyscrapers. Manhattan, first of all, being a no-fly zone in certain areas, as well as restricted airspace, the UN, helicopters, seaplanes. I could give you a whole list of stuff that would
Well,
make it.
the way they're building up the outer boroughs, you might be able to have someplace very soon.
Yeah, yeah, like places in Brooklyn, that like there are places in Brooklyn, Ron, that have gone from one skyscraper to like a little mini city now.
Oh, wow.
And I doubt very much people would start surfing them, but this is on a wish list of mine. If I ever get a chance to travel somewhere, like I said, and there's mountains, I'm on it. I would risk the bird. I don't care. I would risk the bird. It would be well worth the risk. And I'm assuming this guy is back here somewhere because there seems to be a car on the road right there. But
Mhm.
all in all, it wasn't too bad of a flight.
Mhm.
And I was wondering if you could fly like that, would you get into FPV then, Ron?
Yeah, I would never roll it out. Like I said, the tack on a little bit to the goggle thing. I have a larger head than normal people, so that means I got larger glasses than most people. So that's kind of also a hindrance. Having an extremely large head to fit goggles, and but I'm not close to the idea totally. And another issue, I mostly fly alone. I just don't have many people around where I live that fly or have time to meet up or whatever. So, flying alone with the goggles it is kind of an uncomfortable situation also. I mean,
Well,
unless you're in the Alps and you're the only person there.
yeah. Well, see, it's funny you say that because just like they say camera drone pilots should fly within visual line of sight and should have a spotter, I'm a firm believer that FPV pilots should as well. But I live I live 4 blocks, 3 blocks from the Atlantic Ocean. And a lot of times when I go to fly, because the summer gets so humid here in New York, what
Mhm.
I do is I go out early
Yeah.
while it's still cool. So most of the time, everyone's jogging on a boardwalk, and I'm down in the sand. And whatever people are walking in the sand, they don't give a damn what I'm doing out there. They're walking in the sand. You don't have to worry about it too much. Hey, eat more possum night train. What's up, guys? But I just figured I would ask you that because
Awesome.
I see a lot of camera drone guys slowly converting over.
And that
Not fully.
DJI
Fine.
FPV drone is helping the conversion.
What, repeat that?
The DJI FPV drone is helping the conversion.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, I agree.
You
I
know,
agree with you on that.
I looked at that thing and I thought about it a couple hundred times, but just couldn't.
And I'm going to be honest about this. The DJI FPV Bird was a great way to transition people over to FPV, but the fact that it's proprietary is I have an issue with that. And only because I could take any frame, any motors, any flight controller, any ESC, and build something where once you mess with DJI, you're like in the Mummy movie where they're going
Uh,
Imhotep.
well,
Oh,
see, that wasn't the issue for me with it. That's a given. That's a given when you enter into almost any product today. That everything is proprietary, especially with these drones. We already came into that conclusion a long time ago. The problem I had with it is that the development of it, for instance, you can go and you can go and build a drone, right? And you can develop with that drone, even through the crashing.
Yeah.
You can't do that with the DJI.
Yeah, they crash and that's it.
You can't develop with that drone through the crashing. You have to. I mean, it's a slower process. And listen, I'm speaking from looking at the product and what the product has to offer and how it actually worked in those 3 different stages of it. That's not the same thing with what you're flying, and a lot of the guys, you know, Eddie and a few other guys out there flying. It's not the same thing,
Right.
you know.
Right. Now you are
Isn't it? And it isn't, you know. So I don't know.
well, it's just interesting to know, and I've said this. It was a great way to cheat in
Mhm.
learning how to fly FPV because there's the old emergency button. If anything happens, you're upside down, you forget where you're at, whatever, you see a wall coming up, if you press this button or the sensors kick in, it's going to stop on a dime where it is. In FPV, huh?
In full acro.
Yes. No, not in full acro.
See, this is what I'm saying to you. So
Yeah.
So how many times have you crashed your drone, picked it up, bent the propellers back, and put it back up?
I've done it. We've done it.
But that's a development. That's a development of learning with that drone that you don't have with the DJI drone.
This is very true because I've hit a lamppost, Ron, in the park. First of all, the wind was blowing about 30 miles an hour. Okay, so I could say the drone at that time before I sped it up maybe did about 50 miles an hour. So if you take another 20 and say I may have hit the pole at about 70 miles an hour, okay, head on, it fell from the top of the pole upside down onto the ground. I went over, walked over to it. None of the props were broke, anything, and I picked it up and flew it. That impact on the DJI FPV drone, it would have exploded.
Right.
You know, but that's neither here nor there. We got to get on to this next story,
Yes.
which is cover drone insurance. Those of you who are in the UK and places like that may have heard of this company. Cover drone insurance claims data uncovers the most common risk with flying a drone. Now, keep in mind, these logistics are from the UK, are from the UK, Europe, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. But Cover Drone claims that they've settled 98% of their claims in 2021, and they have a top 10 list of drone insurance claims. And guess what number 1 is? You guys in the chat, what would be the number 1 reason to file a claim on a drone?
Lawrence, I looked at this. I looked at this list, and I still some of this stuff on this list and the order in which it is in is very surprising to me.
Well, it was surprising to me when I found out number 5 was number 10,
and should still be number 10.
Right, but we're going to go through this list.
Shouldn't even be on the list.
I know, but you're right. I agree. We're going to go into it. But the number 1 reason that drone insurance claims were filed for in the UK, New Zealand, Europe, all around was pilot error. How do we not know that was number 1?
The number 1 reason for most of my crashes.
Yeah, agreed. Hey, Corey, what's up? Mr. Spat, how are you? Welcome to the chat. But this it goes on to say that number 2 is accidental damage. Okay, accidental damage. I don't know what they would mean as far as what accidental damage is.
Like dropping.
But that sounds like pilot error to me too. But,
no, like you dropped it or something like that, or it fell.
Okay, all right, I could see that. Well, number 3 Number 3 is loss of data link. I would think that that would be number 2, but they say it's number 3, loss of data link. Can
Well,
make you
that and well, 3 and 4 has to piggyback one another because that's what number 3 causes number 4.
true. True. Number 4 being flyaway. The loss of data link will cause a flyaway. We know that for sure. you know. And number 5, Herman's favorite. And Herman, I want you to read. I want you to tell the example of what they use. But number 5 is accidental loss.
Well, I don't understand how you could accidentally lose your drone. I mean, how do you do that?
Wait a minute. Let me go over an actual case incident here. You guys are
Uh-oh.
friends with
Uh-oh.
Paul Drone Bum, right? Remember when Drone
Yeah.
Bum left his no, he left his controller. So he flew his drone someplace and he left his controller at the park or whatever where he flew the things. That wasn't actually his drone, it was a controller that he left
Still.
behind.
That's
That's
accidental loss.
Okay.
I don't know. I kind of treat mine like the children. You make a head count of everything. I would
Hey,
lose.
I always had one of those incidents.
Cables.
This is a couple years ago. I was at my when I lived in my other house. I had like a school field, and I went over to fly in the winter one time. I took a Spark in another drone. That tells you how old it goes. The Spark was a current drone, and I came home. And I was home for about an hour and I checked and my Spark wasn't there. So I rode back to the park and it was still sitting on the bleachers, luckily, and I brought it back. So I almost had an accidental loss.
Wow. That's crazy.
That means you
That's
forgot
crazy.
why you were there.
Well, I remember the Spark probably flew first and it didn't get packed away. I got the other drone out and that was a case of flying too many drones in the same session.
Getting back to this list, we have 6 through 10. We have pilot error number 1, accidental damage number 2, loss of data number 3, flyaway number 4, accidental loss. But number 6, mechanical failure. I've had that happen. I've had 2 motors blow out on a drone at the same time. And on a camera drone. It happened on my
That's kind of high on the list.
solo. And number 7, bird strike. Well, those of you who live along the ocean, you, Ron, Herman knows he flies where there's a lot of seagulls and stuff. Bird strikes are highly possible.
Yeah, true.
Bird
you know
strikes
what?
are highly possible.
A lot of times they don't get out of the way in time.
That's usually what it is. So number 8 is loss of power. Now, here's one, number 9, weather. Is one of the top 10. It's number 9 in the top 10
Number 9.
reasons drone insurance claims are filed is the weather, which is funny. And number 10, theft from a vehicle. Your drone was stolen. Damaged goods. What's good, man? How are you, man? Thank you so much for the $2 super chat.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You know what, Lawrence?
Appreciate it very much.
Was it
What were you saying there?
I will if I have the drone in the car, like with the DJI bag that they have for the Mavic 3, I sling it over my shoulder and go into places that I'm not leaving it in the car. What's the sense of that?
And I don't blame you.
Especially depending on where I'm at. Yeah, I'm taking it with me.
Depends on what neighborhood you're in at the time, right?
Taking it with me.
Yes, they're not just what neighborhood, but even pretty much. You're right, Ron, because you just don't leave certain things in your car. Like Logan Carpenter, how are you? For example, he says lightning strike. I've never seen a drone get struck, but that would make some good footage. Getting back to, I lost my train of thought. I just went squirrel for a second. But getting back to this list of these top 10 reasons drone insurance claims are filed. Repeat, this is only in the UK, Europe, Canada, Australia, New Zealand.
I don't think it would be much different anywhere else.
Well, I've yet to see logistics here in the States because we only have State Farm here. And from what I understand, if you file a claim
Right.
if you file a claim with State Farm,
Mhm.
just one claim on your drone, they cancel you the next time around. And
Uh,
I've only
not
seen
not
this.
necessarily true.
Well, I've only seen it with people from the past, like we know a gentleman, Ron, who went through 3 to 4 drones in maybe about a year and a half. You know, he just had the worst luck. He decided to stop flying drones and become a photographer. Great guy,
Okay.
great guy, but every
Yeah,
time he
now
said
he
he
keeps his feet on the
came down,
ground.
every time his drone, every time he took his drone out, it was probably shivering. Please don't send me up. Please don't send me up. I heard about the last one because he's hit buildings. He was out over the water. I think it's the error message said motor seized, which means it got caught in a kite line or some kind of rope and the motor stopped, or who knows, it could have hit a bird and the motor stopped. We don't know, but this guy I had seen, he at least in a year and a half he had 4 DJI drones easy.
Wow.
And State Farm was like, look, dude, you got to go somewhere else.
We had two Phantom 4 Pros,
Mm-hmm.
the Mavic, what was it, the Mavic 2 Pro.
Yeah, yeah.
What else did he have? Yeah, I think that was it. He bounced one of the
Off
Phantom 4
Coney
Pros
Island in the water.
off the ground and between two buildings.
Yes, they said when it hit the ground, Ron, the battery went one way and the camera went another direction. Maybe you could reach out for insurance agents to answer those questions on your next live stream. You know, that would be interesting, show.
Mhm.
That would
But
seriously be interesting
you got to
because
remember
right now
this.
State Farm's the only one that does it.
Yeah, but that's for consumer drones. This
Yes.
here is consumer and commercial.
Yes, this is true. But this story was brought out from this story was just to show how much how many insurance claims were put out there. It says Pilot Error has become #1 insurance claim, making up 33% of the
Mhm.
claims by
Mm.
Pilot Error, but they all paid out. And their thing is they want you to take the A2 C of C. Now,
Mhm.
I didn't know what the C of C was, but it's certificate of certification, something to that effect. It's their version of the 107 here in the States.
I got you.
And they're just saying people need to go out there and learn how to fly, take classes, do whatever, and maybe those numbers will start going down. But it doesn't sound like they penalize these people. They paid 98% of their policy, 98% of the insurees out there.
Mm.
I wonder what State Farm's percentage is for payouts.
From
That's
what I
interesting.
understand, they cut and run, meaning they cut you one, you're done.
Yeah, I mean,
Now,
I've heard that many times over, Lawrence. But then I hear other people say, "Oh, they don't." So I hear both versions of that story. I don't know what the actual facts
Well,
are.
I've asked the the people down where I go, and they said that that's not true.
yeah, so I
But
don't know what's going on as far as
who's
that.
gonna tell you that? Yeah, I'm gonna cut your ass off after you after you make a claim.
Right, like I've never had it happen to me. I have 3 drones insured. I have my Mavic Pro, my Phantom 4 Pro, and my Air 2S. Okay, my FPV drones I do not insure because
Mhm.
that's just a rebuild. You
Okay.
know, if I put 250 into it, it's a 250 rebuild. Just plain and simple. To have each and every FPV drone insured, they would be cashing a policy every time I crashed, or you know, or some people.
Well,
Could you imagine?
well, it depends. I mean, what are you hitting them up for?
Well, yeah, see that, and then
Repairs,
you have to prove the value of the drone because that's how State Farm does it.
the
Whatever you
repairs.
paid on your receipt for that drone, you're supposed to take it. But if you paid the 1,400 or 1,300 for the Air 2S Fly More bundle, you're taking the receipt and it's insured for that exact amount. Now with an FPV drone, that's kind of different.
Right.
That's right.
What are they going to do? Refund you for a $5 prop?
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
what you got to do is it's a build, and this is it. Here you got the itemized list of
Hey, Johnny.
everything that it took to build this. You know,
Right.
that's how it would have to be done.
And I don't
And,
think they
and
include
that broker
labor.
would hate you.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't stop coming in here with those damn claims, could you imagine? All right, we got one more story that's kind of, I did not send you this one, but you may have heard about it, Ron, and everyone else out in the chat. Drugs, weapons smuggled into to prisoners by drone on a weekly basis.
Or tell Evo, let's get them out.
And I'm going to show the picture before I do the story. I'm just gonna share the screen.
No
I had to
geofencing. Fly right over the jail.
but this is some of the stuff that they caught. Okay, and notice that they confiscated marijuana, candy, cell phones, USB cables, cell phones, and a set of a controller for the Autel. If you notice, there's an Autel robot up here. All of this stuff was recovered in an undercover sting. Okay, now prisoners at the Lee Correctional Institution, which is in Bishopville, South Carolina, say as many as 20 people were arrested for the involvement in the scheme. And I will show the video. They set up a sting. These guys were flying in weapons, candy, drugs, and everything else they could possibly attach to the drone on a weekly basis to this prison. And it says, contraband smuggling by drone has been a growing problem at prisons across the United States because this is where this happened in Bishopville, South Carolina, the Lee Correctional Institution. And they go on to say that after 8 months of investigation, they finally caught these gangs. There are gangs of people that are just finding ways to take drones and fly them over the prisons. And the particular people that they caught here were caught using a drone that has no geofencing. We all know who that is. We won't go into it, but it's kind of funny. I have the video here. I'm going to put the video up. These are the actual guys doing it. This is surveillance, so it's very blurry. I don't know what kind of camera work they had here, but this was enough evidence to catch at least 20 people doing this. And I hope there's not a commercial coming up, and of course there is. So when that stops playing,
music you got there.
oh, sorry about that. When that stops playing, I will pull it back up. It's a 30-second commercial, and I forgot all about that. I actually had it queued up, so they must have reloaded another commercial.
So they're trying to get paid over there.
Huh?
They're trying to get paid over there, rolling that commercial again.
Yeah, of course. Okay, hold on. Here it is.
Okay,
this video starts with these guys climbing this fence. Now, of course, the police of the correctional facility, the correction officers, they did their best to find out where these guys. Here's a drone right here, and
it don't look like an old cell.
This is police footage. This of these guys in Britain. They had cameras set up. They were strapped to illegal cargo using a fishing line too. And he's got a bag. They got bags full of stuff here, guys. Now that goes to show that this yard, this open field is right next to the prison. But this is, of course, after making one drop. The guy hand catches it.
They're probably part one. They're probably part one of 7 pilots.
I hope not. But this gentleman right here has a device that was smuggled into that he uses to catch the fishing line and snatch whatever it is off of the drone, and so the drone can go back up. and they have all of this under surveillance, and these are the guys leaving. They got the car, license plate. Maybe they blurred it out to purposely, I don't know. But they caught 20 of these 20 people all, I guess they had to follow these guys also, I'm assuming. But it just goes to show there are a lot of people out there doing stuff that they're not supposed to. So when you say remote ID, it would have been much easier to catch these guys if this drone had remote ID. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, yes and no, because what were you going to do if you didn't know that they dropped it?
True.
Are you going to go check for? Let's just go back and check and see if anybody was flying a drone in the area.
Well, they did enough. They went into the story as far as to say that the violence over contraband is no risk at that prison, and a lot of this contraband being brought in there is being done by drone, and because there's no geofencing on the Autel drones that they were using, that's an issue, and that the prison needs to look into some anti-drone technology.
Contraband.
As soon as the senators see that video, they'll start banning Autel drones too.
Contraband is brought into prisons in the same way as
that one was a DJI, but the arrest that they made, the guys that were doing the bigger stuff and doing it more on a regular were Autel drones. But that particular one,
Phantom 4,
they had a Phantom, right? I guess they figure it's white, you can't see it in the sky. Plus, these guys were also making these deliveries, which I find strange. Aren't prisons supposed to be locked down at night?
Yes, but I was watching. It's funny you say that. I was watching a movie where this guy got contraband delivered into the prison by a drone, and how he did it was that the guys flew the drone over the prison. They clean up the prison. They clean the roof, they clean out the gutters, they clean the prisoners, keep the prison clean.
Right.
So they put it in a dead bird, and when he went out on his detail to clean up the area, he just cleaned up the dead bird.
All right. What were you going to say?
I mean, doesn't this story kind of fall under the old thing like people say about guns? It's not the gun, it's the people use them. There's drones, it's not the drones are bad, it's the people using them.
Yeah.
Which
is why the attack on a consumer drone makes sense. To get them out of their hands.
Well, Rob C has a very valid point, but I want to comment after that. He says it's currently FCC violation to interfere with any broadcast signal. This is true, except if you are under law enforcement or anything under those lines, because they're experimenting with all kinds of guns and lasers and things to bring drones down, which do interfere with the frequency or broadcast signal of drones. So it's kind of a catch-22. You or I, Rob C, if we did it, we would go straight to jail. Law enforcement, they may have had a reason to bring that drone down. You know, and hey,
I do know the Homeland Security can, and the military can.
Yes. So
just to back up a little bit on this story, at least on a DJI drone, when you look at the map, prisons are clearly outlined on the map. They have a different color line around than the airports do, whatever. It's easy when you're looking at the DJI map. It's easy to spot where the prisons are by looking at that map.
Yes, it is. Hey, Tank RC, welcome to the live stream.
Hey.
If you want to, I in jam and take, I can't show that. Jim put up a comment. As a moderator, I can see it, but I can't show that one, Jim. He's being very creative. Only the military currently has the right to interrupt the signal. Right now, yes. And well, military and homeland security.
Yeah.
Homeland security because of the fact of presidential. We just
Right,
had a TFR here in New
right.
York City, and I can guarantee you, if you put a drone up in the air at certain spots,
Mhm.
someone's going to walk up to you. It's actually rumored here. I haven't seen it, Ron, but it's rumored, and I don't know if it was Photoshop, but it's rumored here that the FCC does go to certain AMA airfields to see if guys are going
The
to try and take
FAA?
off on TFR.
Oh,
You mean the
okay.
FAA?
Yeah, yeah. No, they claim it was the FAA. They claim it was securities. They claim somebody approached them after they took off during a TFR. Andy Cortez, El Smeghead, how are you? I wondered why nobody was watching
Oh,
my
it's
4th
good.
of July video. You're all here.
Yeah.
No,
And
I
of course,
got you, Jim. It's not a problem. I for certain reasons, I couldn't post that one there. But Ron, if
okay,
you want to,
this story may not be the list, but what about that giant TFR around the Super Bowl next Sunday? I think it's 30 miles.
30 miles,
Hmm.
And
30
what is
miles.
and how much is the fine? The fine,
Um,
some humongous amount of money.
I
See,
didn't,
I don't
I forgot
understand the
about that.
30-mile thing. The reason why I don't understand the 30-mile thing is that the larger you make the parameters, the more people you're gonna catch.
Right. Right.
Listen, somebody's flying. They're gonna fly.
Okay, here
Somebody's
it
gonna
is.
be out there flying, and the larger you make the parameter, the more people
Yeah.
you're gonna be able to catch.
And
Well,
plus,
here
if
it
I'm
is.
30 miles away and I take off a consumer drone, there's no way I'm making it to the stadium.
No,
But check this out, guys, because it says hold on, no zone. Now I'm just trying to make sure this is the correct one, the correct information that I'm reading here.
Mhm.
Okay, no drone zone flight restrictions announced for Super Bowl. It's 30 miles, 30 miles circling the stadium and stretching up to 8,000 feet high.
Mhm.
Wow.
Right.
Okay, 8,000 feet high. I'm trying to find, it says it will go into effect from 2:30 p.m. from 2:30 a.m. until
That's
8:30 p.m.
that's a manned aircraft.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yes, and there will be a fine as high, but other pilots who enter the TFR can face a fine up to $30,000
Yeah, but that's for manned aircraft.
along with criminal charges. So we all know every year we wait around like we're waiting for the groundhog to come out and we look at his shadow to hear the day after the Super Bowl that some fool freaking went up in the air.
Well,
But I hope,
listen,
huh?
listen. By extending it 30 miles, all you were trying to do is catch somebody. They're going up. I refuse to say don't go, don't fly. They're going up. Somebody's going up.
Yeah.
Somebody's going up. And if by increasing it to 30 miles, you're guaranteeing you're going to catch somebody.
Do you think that 30-mile radius was spurred on by the gentleman who flew the drone at the Cincinnati Bengals playoff game a few weeks back?
No, because I don't think he was 30 miles away. I mean,
No.
I'm just
He
No,
saying.
definitely not.
he was in cheap seats or whatever.
Well, I would like to think so. I would like to think so, but due to the fact that they said he went down in the stadium, low over the field, and then went up and away.
Mhm. That's that
And but
5G network, baby.
he came back a couple of times though. He
That's
did.
that 5G network operations.
Yep. Yep.
You got your setup on 5G. You can get in there. See, we all keep saying, "Oh, why they disconnect?" We want them to disconnect, but that's what we would like.
Right.
But that doesn't happen.
But it doesn't. It doesn't happen. Listen, Ron, you want to give a plug for your stream because we have 2 minutes before the stream is over, man.
Oh, we're running out of time. Yes, everybody, everybody, first of all, everybody in the chat, thanks for joining us tonight. And I want to thank, Lawrence and Herman for having the show. And you don't forget, we run a little show on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time called Dronenation, where a lot like this show, we kind of stick to drones the whole time and not to get off topic too much, like like a lot of shows do. So join us. So we're on every Monday night, 9 p.m. Marcus Crawford and Mark Moore are my co-hosts on the show, and sometimes we have a guest, sometimes we don't. But yeah, stop and check us out. Thank you for that opportunity, Lawrence.
Okay. So you guys make sure you guys check out Ron on Monday nights for Dronenation. What time was that again, Ron?
9 p.m. Eastern
9
Standard
p.m.
Time.
Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget to check them out, guys.
I'm so glad that you said what you said, Ron. First, I want to thank you for coming on, and you can come back anytime you want because you're knowledgeable, you have the experience, and you're honest.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I want to point out, you mentioned something, your live stream does what we also try to do here, and that's stay serious and on topic and give people something to come back to each and every time. So I appreciate you for what you do. I appreciate you for coming on. Thank you again, man. It's that time, Herman. If you guys got anything to say, now's the time to do it.
Well, I guess I will say that we'll be back again, I guess, on Wednesday with some new topics, some new stories, things to talk about.
And I will not be on next week, Sunday. It's Super Bowl Sunday. I will be eating chicken wings and drinking beer and making loud noises while watching the Super Bowl.
Okay.
So yes, next Sunday.
The pre-show, you'll be watching all of the pre-game preliminaries. Everything.
Look, don't even call me Sunday. If somebody's not life or death, don't call me.
Okay.
Don't call me unless somebody flies a drone at the Super Bowl.
Exactly. And you got video footage you want to share it with us. Right, Ron?
Trust me.
Premiere it, yep.
Trust me, somebody will be there.
Listen, we got to get out of here, man. Ron, if you can hold on for a few seconds after I shut it down. We appreciate you all. Thank you very much. Be safe, fly safer. And Sunday nights with those guys are sponsored by those guys. We never get it. We're going to get a recording one day. Good night, everyone. We appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.